Awareness is the key that can change everything in your life. It's not some complicated idea or something only a few people can understand. It's simply paying close attention to what's happening inside your mind and around you. When you become truly aware, you start to see things clearly. You notice your thoughts, feelings and habits in a way that lets you make better choices every single day. This isn't about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about taking control of your life, step by step. Most people go through life reacting without really knowing why they feel or act a certain way. That confusion creates frustration and keeps them stuck. But when you practice awareness, you can break free from that cycle. You begin to understand what drives you, what holds you back, and how to change what doesn't serve you. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You start to see where the problems are and what you can do about them. In this journey, you will learn how to observe yourself honestly. You'll discover how to spot patterns in your behavior that might be hurting you and how to stop those patterns for good. You'll find out how to manage your emotions instead of being controlled by them. You'll even learn how to question the beliefs you grew up with to create your own truths, truths that help you grow instead of limit you. This isn't just about thinking differently, it's about acting differently too. The small daily choices you make when you are fully aware will build your strength, your discipline, and your peace of mind. You will learn how to slow down your thoughts, listen to your inner voice, and take full responsibility for your life. This awareness will help you rebuild your life in a way that feels honest and real. The most important part is that this change doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually, through small steps that add up to big transformations. You will be encouraged to practice daily reflection, track your thoughts, and notice what triggers you emotionally. All of these habits will help you live with more clarity and purpose. By staying with this process, you will let go of illusions and accept what truly is. You will find peace by detaching from the ego and living more in the present moment. The power of awareness will guide you to make better decisions, strengthen your relationships, and find freedom from habits that no longer serve you. If you are ready to take control of your life and grow every day, this is the guide that will help you do just that. The one truth that changes your life is awareness. Once you embrace it, everything else will fall into place. This journey will challenge you, but it will also give you the tools to create a life full of meaning, discipline, and success. Stick with this, and you'll start to see things you never noticed before. You'll start making choices with confidence. You'll build habits that support your growth instead of holding you back. This is about waking up to your true self and living fully awake. The path is here, and it starts with awareness. Chapter 1. Build awareness to take full control of life. The most powerful moment in a person's life is when they finally become aware. Not when they read the right book or hear the right speech. Not even when they achieve something big. It's when they stop and realize that everything they experience, every feeling, every struggle, every habit, every outcome is connected to their own state of awareness. That moment marks the beginning of true change. Because until you see clearly, you can't choose clearly. Until you become conscious of your thoughts and behaviors, they run your life without your permission. And until you recognize that you are the one holding the steering wheel, you live as a passenger, blaming the road and the weather instead of learning how to drive better. Awareness is not just something you read about. It's not a motivational phrase or a temporary mindset. It is the foundation of your growth, your freedom, and your power. And until you build it, nothing else you do will last. Without awareness, you can set goals and chase dreams, but you'll keep getting pulled back into old patterns. You'll start the day with motivation and end it with regret, wondering why you keep repeating the same mistakes. But once awareness enters your life fully, you begin to see yourself clearly, without excuses, without distractions, and without fear. The truth is, most people go through life without seeing themselves at all. They react, they follow routines, they carry habits passed down from parents or influenced by peers, and they never stop to ask why they do what they do. That's not living with intention, that's running on autopilot. And when you live like that, life doesn't change. You can change your environment, your job, your relationships, even your appearance, but the results will be the same because you haven't changed the one thing that shapes everything: your awareness. To build awareness, you must be willing to slow down and look inward. You must choose to stop blaming everything outside of you for what's going on inside. You have to stop saying, "That's just how I am," or "This is just life," and start asking, "Why am I doing this?" or "What part of me is creating this?" That's when the shift begins. Awareness means catching yourself in the moment before the reaction, before the habit, before the excuse. It means observing your thoughts like someone watching a movie. Not judging them, but noticing what they are and where they come from. And that's not easy, because awareness requires honesty. It demands discipline. You have to be willing to sit with uncomfortable truths. You have to notice how often you blame others. You have to see how your own thoughts create suffering. You have to admit that some of your struggles are not caused by life being unfair, but by you repeating the same unconscious choices. That realization is tough, but it's also liberating, because if your thoughts and behaviors are the problem, then they can also be the solution. You are not stuck, you are simply unaware. But that can change today. Start small. When you wake up tomorrow, before touching your phone or turning on the noise of the world, just pause. Ask yourself how you feel. Ask yourself what you're thinking. Don't analyze or fix it, just notice it. That moment of pause is where awareness lives, and the more you build that pause into your life, the more power you'll gain. Power over your time, power over your choices, power over your emotions. Most people think control comes from effort, but real control comes from clarity. When you are aware, you don't need to fight your bad habits, you stop feeding them. When you are aware, you don't need to force discipline, you start choosing it naturally. Throughout the day, you will have moments when you want to react, complain, escape, or blame. Use those moments as training. Pause. Watch what your mind is doing. Ask yourself if this reaction is helping you or hurting you. Ask yourself if this is the person you want to be. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Even noticing your patterns once or twice a day can shift your life over time. Because once you see them, you can interrupt them. You can choose a different response. You can redirect your energy. Building awareness also means being brutally honest about your environment. What you surround yourself with becomes what you think about. What you consume shapes what you believe. If you spend hours scrolling through distractions, it's not just a time issue, it's a mind issue. Your awareness is being hijacked. You are giving your attention away to things that don't help you grow. And every time you do that, you're making your life smaller. You're losing touch with yourself. So step back, choose what you feed your mind with as carefully as you choose what you eat. Fill your environment with things that sharpen you, not soften you. One of the biggest shifts awareness creates is the realization that nothing changes until you do. Not your income, not your relationships, not your peace. You've heard it before, but now it has to sink in. If you want better outcomes, you must become a better observer of yourself. That means watching your thoughts when you're under stress. Noticing how you respond to failure. Becoming aware of how you speak to yourself in silence. These are the moments where your life is being shaped. And the more conscious you become in those small moments, the more powerful your life becomes in the big ones. It's easy to say you want change. Everyone says that, but most people don't want the responsibility that comes with it, because once you become aware, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You can't say they made me feel this way when you realize your feelings are your responsibility. You can't say, I don't have time, when you know your choices create your schedule. That's the hard truth of awareness. It removes your escape routes, but that's also where freedom lives. When you stop running, when you stop blaming, when you stop pretending, it's just you and your life. And from that place, anything is possible. Practical change starts here. Make a decision to track yourself for one day. Write down your thoughts every hour. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you focusing on? Do this not to judge yourself, but to see yourself. Most people don't know what they're thinking all day. They just react. But your thoughts are creating your emotions are driving your behavior, and your behavior is shaping your future. So if you want to change your future, you must first become aware of what's driving it. Another simple but powerful tool is to ask yourself, why? 5 times. For example, if you feel frustrated, ask, why am I frustrated? Because I didn't get what I wanted. Why does that matter? Because I feel like I'm losing control. Why is control important to me? Because when I lose it, I feel anxious. Why does anxiety scare me? Because it makes me feel unsafe. Why do I fear being unsafe? Because I never learned how to feel secure in myself. That simple exercise brings you to the root of your feelings. It takes you beyond the surface and into the truth. And once you're there, you can heal, you can grow, you can choose better. There's nothing more dangerous than living life without awareness. Because when you're unaware, you're vulnerable to everything around you. You absorb the negativity of others. You believe every fearful thought. You react without understanding, and you slowly drift further away from your true potential. But the moment you start to observe yourself, you begin to wake up. You stop being a puppet of your thoughts and start becoming the author of your life. Awareness is not something you master in a day. It's something you build daily. It's a practice. It's a mindset. It's a commitment to truth over comfort. And yes, there will be times when it's uncomfortable. You'll see parts of yourself you don't like. You'll catch yourself in lies, excuses, and habits you thought were harmless. But that discomfort is good. It means you're growing. It means you're becoming more real. And the more real you become, the more powerful you become. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to become perfect. You just need to begin. Begin by seeing. Begin by watching your own mind. Begin by telling the truth to yourself, even when it hurts. Because the only thing that stands between where you are and where you want to be is your level of awareness. Not motivation, not talent, not luck, just awareness. Everything else grows from there. So today, commit to seeing clearly. Pay attention to how you feel, how you think, how you speak, how you act. Notice the moments you check out, the moments you numb yourself, the moments you run from discomfort, and instead of running, pause. Stay with yourself. That pause is the space where change begins. And if you build that space day by day, your entire life will change, quietly, steadily, powerfully. No one can do this work for you. No book, no mentor, no speech. Only you can choose awareness. Only you can train your mind to notice. Only you can make the decision to stop living unconsciously. The good news is, you don't need anyone's permission to begin. You have everything you need right now. Your mind, your breath, your will. Use them. Start now. See yourself. Build awareness. And take full control of your life. Chapter 2. Practice daily reflection to understand your true self. Most people live their lives without ever stopping to ask themselves who they really are. They know their name, their job, their routine, but they rarely look beyond the surface. They move through each day following the same patterns, feeling the same emotions, and making the same decisions without ever asking why. But the truth is, no progress can be made without first understanding yourself, and you cannot understand yourself without daily reflection. Not once a month, not only during crises, but every single day, honestly and consistently. Reflection isn't a luxury, it's a requirement if you want to grow. Without it, you remain trapped in your assumptions. You think you know what you want, but you're chasing things that don't fulfill you. You think you're making progress, but you're repeating cycles that lead nowhere. You assume that your feelings are facts, and that your thoughts are truths. But when you reflect, everything slows down. You begin to observe your life from a distance. You start to see your habits, your fears, your motivations, your reactions, and you begin to separate what is real from what is not. It doesn't take hours to reflect. It takes honesty. All you need is a few minutes each day to sit quietly and ask yourself clear questions. What did I feel today? And why? What triggered me? Where did I show strength? Where did I give in to fear? What decisions did I make that aligned with who I want to be? Which ones didn't? These questions aren't meant to make you feel bad. They are meant to show you yourself. Because if you don't know where you are, you can't get to where you want to be. Every day, your mind is absorbing information. Your body is reacting to stress, your emotions are fluctuating, and your choices are stacking up. Without reflection, all of that stays tangled inside you. But when you reflect, you begin to untangle it. You begin to sort through what matters and what doesn't. You realize what's helping you and what's hurting you. You catch the lies you've been telling yourself. You see which beliefs you're still carrying that no longer serve you. You notice where your words didn't match your actions, and instead of pretending those things don't exist, you face them. That kind of self-awareness leads to self-respect. You stop betraying yourself for temporary comfort. You stop repeating behaviors that leave you empty. You stop living by accident and begin living by intention. But this only happens when you create the space to reflect, when you stop moving long enough to look back and learn. You don't need to overthink it. You just need to be honest about what you see, because self-reflection isn't about being harsh on yourself. It's about being real with yourself, real about where you are, real about where you've been, real about where you want to go. Daily reflection makes you more emotionally intelligent. You begin to notice how certain people affect your mood. You see how quickly your mind jumps to judgment or fear. You realize how often you react based on old pain rather than present reality. And once you see that, you can start changing it. You can create space between stimulus and response. You can choose better. You can respond instead of react, but only if you're aware of what's happening inside you. Reflection also brings clarity. When you take time to review your day, patterns emerge. You begin to see the same thoughts come up again and again. You start to understand what drives you and what drains you. You get clear on what actually matters to you instead of what you've been told should matter. That kind of clarity simplifies your life. You stop chasing the wrong things. You stop saying yes to what doesn't align with you. You stop wasting time on people or paths that don't reflect your values. It's easy to avoid reflection because it can be uncomfortable. It's easier to stay distracted, to keep busy, to move from one thing to the next without looking back. But growth never comes from comfort. It comes from facing the truth. And the truth always reveals itself in stillness. That's why people avoid stillness, because they're afraid of what they'll find. But once you get past that fear, you'll find power, you'll find control, you'll find a deeper connection to yourself that nothing outside you can give. Make reflection a habit. Tie it to something you already do. Reflect while drinking your morning coffee. Reflect before going to bed. Reflect after a workout. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to do it consistently. Use a journal if it helps. Write down what you're learning about yourself. Don't worry about grammar or structure, just get your thoughts out. Writing is one of the fastest ways to uncover truth. It forces you to slow down. It brings unconscious thoughts into conscious awareness, and once they're conscious, you can deal with them. There is a difference between thinking and reflecting. Thinking is constant. It's the noise in your mind all day long, but reflection is intentional. It's focused. It's directed at uncovering truth. So don't confuse mental overactivity with self-awareness. You can think all day and still not know yourself. But if you spend even 5 minutes a day reflecting, you will begin to see your life in a whole new light. Reflection helps you stay on your path. It keeps you accountable. You stop relying on motivation because you build discipline. You no longer need someone to tell you what to do because you start checking in with yourself. You begin to measure progress based on your own standards, not the approval of others. That internal compass is priceless, because in a world full of distractions and opinions, it's easy to get lost. Daily reflection brings you back to center. It reminds you of who you are and who you're becoming. You will also become more compassionate through reflection. When you see your own flaws clearly, you judge others less. When you understand your own struggles, you become more patient with theirs, and that kindness begins to show up in your relationships. You stop reacting out of ego. You stop needing to prove yourself. You start listening more. You start supporting instead of criticizing. You become a better partner, a better parent, a better friend. Not because you're trying to, but because you've connected with yourself first. Some days reflection will feel powerful. Other days it will feel hard. There will be times when you face parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But keep going, because every time you reflect, you grow. Every time you pause and look inward, you become stronger. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to keep asking the right questions. And you need to keep showing up for yourself every day, not just when it's easy. If you want a better life, you must first understand the one you're living. If you want to make better choices, you must first understand the ones you've made. Reflection is not looking back with regret, it's looking back with awareness, so you can move forward with purpose. This is how you create a life you're proud of, not by chance, not by luck, but by becoming the kind of person who knows themselves deeply and lives from that truth. Daily reflection is your opportunity to grow in silence. It's your chance to learn from your own experience. It's where wisdom is formed, not from reading or listening, but from observing your own life. If you do this consistently, you will become unshakable, because you will know who you are. And once you know who you are, no one can take that from you. Not failure, not criticism, not loss, because you've built your strength from within. You've studied yourself, you've faced yourself, and you've committed to becoming better, one honest day at a time. Chapter 3. Recognize your patterns and break harmful behaviors now. There comes a time when you have to stop pretending that your struggles are random, that your frustrations, failures, and emotional breakdowns just happen without cause. There's a pattern behind everything that repeats in your life. The results you get, the moods you cycle through, the way you respond to certain people or situations, none of it is accidental. If you look closely, you'll see a trail, a line that leads back to a thought, a belief, a decision, or a wound that hasn't been addressed. And until you face that, nothing in your life will truly change. Growth starts the moment you recognize your patterns and take control of them. Most people go through life trying to fix symptoms without treating the source. They try to be more productive without understanding why they procrastinate. They try to improve relationships without realizing they're carrying unresolved trust issues. They chase peace without letting go of behaviors that create chaos. But the truth is, your patterns are running the show, and they will keep repeating until you break them. You can move to a new place, start a new job, or enter a new relationship, but your patterns will follow you everywhere until you do the work. To recognize your patterns, you have to be willing to look at your life with total honesty. Ask yourself what situations you keep finding yourself in, what arguments keep happening in different relationships, what habits show up every time you're stressed. These aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a cycle. Maybe every time you start doing well, you sabotage yourself. Maybe you get close to someone, then pull away when things get serious. Maybe you always find reasons to stay busy, so you never have to sit with yourself. These aren't coincidences, they're signs, and if you pay attention, you'll see that they're pointing directly to the parts of you that need healing. Awareness is the first step, but awareness without action keeps you stuck. Once you see the pattern, you must do something different. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels unfamiliar, especially if it feels unfamiliar, because your patterns are built from repetition. You've done them so many times they feel normal, even if they hurt you, so breaking them will feel wrong at first. But that's a sign you're on the right path. Growth always begins where comfort ends. The reason people struggle to change is because they try to change without disrupting the pattern. They say they want better habits, but they keep the same environment that triggers the old ones. They want healthier relationships, but they continue choosing the same kinds of people. They say they want peace, but they continue holding on to resentment and drama. Real change means interruption. It means noticing the moment when the old behavior is about to start and choosing something new. Breaking harmful patterns requires attention in real time. You need to catch yourself in the moment, not just think about it later. That means watching yourself as you interact. It means being present when your emotions spike, when you're about to shut down, when you want to escape, when your body is tense and your voice gets sharp. That's where the pattern lives, and that's where it must be stopped. You don't stop it by fighting it. You stop it by choosing not to feed it, by breathing, by staying calm, by choosing a new response, even when it's hard. Most of your patterns were created to protect you. Somewhere in your past, something hurt, and instead of healing from it, you found a way to survive it. You coped by disconnecting, overreacting, avoiding, or numbing. But what protected you then is now hurting you. And until you see that, you'll keep defending behavior that's no longer serving you. The challenge is that your mind thinks the pattern keeps you safe. So when you try to break it, your mind resists. It sends fear, doubt, discomfort. That's why it takes courage to grow. You're not just building new habits. You're letting go of what used to protect you. To break harmful behavior, you also need to remove judgment. Judging yourself for your patterns won't help. It only adds shame, and shame feeds the cycle. You must approach yourself with curiosity, not criticism. Ask, where did this behavior come from? What was I trying to avoid? What need was I trying to meet? When you answer those questions honestly, you'll realize that every pattern started with a purpose. But now that you're aware, you can meet those needs in a healthier way. One effective way to work with patterns is to track them. Write down what you notice each day, what triggered you, how you responded, what you felt afterward. This process helps bring the unconscious to the surface, and once something is seen, it can be changed. You'll begin to notice how predictable your responses are, and that's powerful because once you see the script, you can rewrite it. You also need to watch your language. The words you use can either keep you stuck or set you free. If you constantly say, "That's just how I am," you've already given up. But if you say, "This is something I've repeated, and I can change it," you give yourself power. Language matters because it shapes belief, and belief shapes behavior. Speak to yourself as someone who is growing, not someone who is broken. Another trap is trying to break every pattern all at once. You don't need to fix everything overnight. That's not sustainable, and it leads to burnout. Focus on one core pattern at a time, the one that causes the most damage, the one that keeps showing up everywhere. Start there, interrupt it once, then twice, then again. Each time you break it, you create space for something new. And that space is where change begins. Surrounding yourself with people who are also growing will support your progress. If you stay around people who normalize your harmful patterns, you'll keep falling back into them. But if you're around those who are self-aware, honest, and disciplined, you'll feel supported and challenged. Growth is hard, but it's harder when you're alone. So choose your environment wisely. It's shaping you more than you realize. There will be setbacks. You'll fall into old habits. You'll catch yourself after the fact. That's part of the process. Don't let a mistake convince you that you haven't changed. The fact that you noticed it means you have. Keep going. Each time you catch it sooner, you weaken the pattern. Each time you make a better choice, you strengthen the new one. You are not your patterns. You are the one observing them. And that means you have the power to change them. You don't have to keep repeating the past. You don't have to stay stuck in loops that drain your energy and limit your potential. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need someone to come fix it for you. You just need to decide today to start watching yourself with clarity and making different choices. Not all at once, but one moment at a time. The person you want to become is not hidden somewhere far away. That person is already inside you, but they've been buried under years of unconscious behavior. The more you recognize your patterns, the more you uncover who you really are. Not who you were told to be, not who you became out of survival, but who you are at your core. And that version of you is strong. That version of you is focused. That version of you is free. This process is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about choosing not to live on autopilot. It's about choosing awareness over avoidance, truth over denial, growth over comfort. And that choice is always available to you, every hour of every day. Your patterns may have shaped your past, but they do not have to define your future. You can choose something new, and the moment you do, your life begins to change. Chapter 4. Take responsibility for everything you think and do. Everything in your life, your habits, your words, your actions, your relationships, your results, stems from one place: your responsibility. It's easy to blame others when things don't go as planned. It's natural to look outside for someone to fault when life feels unfair or progress feels delayed. But that mindset keeps you powerless. As long as you think someone else is the reason for your struggles, you will keep waiting for someone else to fix them. The turning point comes when you stop pointing fingers and start holding the mirror. When you finally admit that you are the one thinking the thoughts and making the decisions, that's where growth begins. You are responsible for what you think. Not your parents, Not your past, not the people who hurt you, not the environment you were raised in. You may not have chosen those early experiences, but you are now choosing how to interpret them. You decide whether to carry pain or to process it, whether to stay a victim or to move forward. Every thought you allow to live in your mind is shaping your future, and until you take full ownership of that, you'll keep blaming your mindset on circumstances that no longer exist. You are responsible for your actions. Even when you're emotional, even when you're triggered, even when life feels overwhelming, your choices belong to you. If you lash out, if you give up, if you avoid what needs to be done, that's your decision. No one can force your hand. People can influence you, but they cannot control you. Taking responsibility means no longer using others as an excuse for your behavior. It means recognizing that your response is always your choice, no matter the situation. This is not about guilt, it's about power. Responsibility does not mean you're a bad person for making mistakes. It means you have the strength to own them and change. It means you stop waiting for life to hand you the perfect conditions and start improving within the conditions you have. It means you stop expecting fairness and start creating your own standards. It means you stop blaming time, money, weather, or people and start asking yourself, what can I do right now with what I have? The moment you accept total responsibility for your life is the moment you begin to change it. Until then, nothing shifts. You'll keep replaying the same stories. You'll keep feeling frustrated with no resolution. You'll keep resenting others for things that are actually in your hands. Taking responsibility is about eliminating excuses from your vocabulary. No more "I can't because of them." No more "if only things were different." Replace those with "here's what I can do today." Because that's where change happens. This mindset demands maturity. It requires you to stop seeking comfort and start seeking clarity. It asks you to face the moments when you acted from fear, pride, or insecurity, not to punish yourself, but to grow from it. It's about building integrity with yourself, knowing that your life is a reflection of your own standards. If you don't like what you see, raise your standards. If your thoughts are negative, train your mind. If your habits are weak, strengthen your discipline. These are not things others can do for you. They are your responsibility alone. It's easier to live in denial, to convince yourself that life is happening to you instead of through you. But easy is not rewarding. Easy leads to regret. Taking responsibility is harder. It means facing hard truths. It means admitting when you're wrong. It means accepting that sometimes you are the one standing in your own way. But it also means freedom. Because once you accept that you are the problem, you also realize that you are the solution. That's the moment everything changes. There's a shift that happens when you stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That's responsibility in action. It means you're no longer just reacting, you're learning, you're adjusting, you're evolving. This mindset gives you the advantage in every area of life. In your work, it means you don't wait for direction, you take initiative. In your relationships, it means you don't keep score, you focus on being your best regardless of others. In your health, it means you don't wait for a scare, you take daily ownership of your well-being. Most people want success, but avoid responsibility. They want better outcomes without making better choices. They want change without effort. But that's not how it works. You cannot delegate your discipline, you cannot outsource your growth. You must carry it yourself, and if you do, you'll experience a kind of confidence that no one can give you, and no one can take from you. It comes from knowing that you are building your life brick by brick with your own decisions. This kind of responsibility must be constant. It can't be something you apply only when things are going well. You must take responsibility even when things fall apart, even when people hurt you, even when the outcome is not your fault, because responsibility isn't about blame. It's about ownership. You may not have caused the storm, but you decide how to navigate through it. You may not control what others do, but you control how you respond and how you rebuild. Responsibility means doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. It means following through on your word, even when no one will find out. It means not needing validation for every effort, because you're not doing it to be seen. You're doing it because it's who you are. That's integrity. That's strength. That's what builds a meaningful life. Taking responsibility for your thoughts also means managing your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself matters. If you keep repeating negative self-talk, if you keep reinforcing old wounds, you're shaping your identity in a harmful way. Responsibility means interrupting those patterns, replacing them with discipline, compassion, and truth. It means choosing to believe in your capacity to grow, even when your mind wants to doubt it. Your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. So the work must start in the mind. No one else can manage your mind for you. That job is yours. Sometimes responsibility looks like making hard decisions, saying no when it's easier to say yes, walking away from what's familiar because it's not aligned, admitting when you've been making excuses. Responsibility isn't always loud or dramatic. Often, it's quiet. It's the moment you stay calm when everything inside you wants to explode. It's the decision to try again when failure feels personal. It's the practice of showing up when your motivation is gone. These small moments are where real responsibility is built. You can either live your life blaming or building. You can tell stories about why things are unfair, or you can create a life that reflects your values. You can hope for change, or you can become the one who creates it. The choice is yours, and it starts the moment you say, I am responsible, not just for what happens to me, but for how I interpret, respond, and grow from it. Responsibility is the highest form of self-respect. It says, I believe I have the power to shape my life. It says, I trust myself to make the next right choice. It says, no matter how things started, I choose how they continue. When you live like this, you stop waiting, you stop complaining. You stop needing things to be perfect. You start doing. You start learning. You start leading. Not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You won't get it right every day. You will still fall. You will still have moments when you act from weakness. But responsibility means standing back up and learning from those moments. It means using every mistake as feedback. It means refusing to be a passive participant in your own life. Because nothing changes until you decide to take full control of how you show up, what you think, and what you do, no matter what. Chapter 5. Observe your emotions to manage your reactions better. Every emotion you feel is a signal, not a command. It's a message, not a master. But most people don't see it that way. They let their emotions take over and drive their behavior. They react before they reflect. They speak before they process. They respond to life as if their feelings are in control, as if there's no space between emotion and reaction. But there is a space, and that space is your power. When you begin to observe your emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them, everything changes. You stop being reactive. You stop being volatile. You start becoming deliberate. Your emotions are valid, but they are not always accurate. Just because you feel angry doesn't mean someone wronged you. Just because you feel sad doesn't mean something is broken. Feelings often come from past experiences, inner beliefs, and mental filters that have been developed over years. If you don't learn to observe them, you'll end up acting out patterns that were formed long ago, patterns that no longer serve you. But when you pause and look at what you're feeling, you give yourself the opportunity to choose how to respond instead of being swept away by a surge of emotion. Most people never learned how to sit with their emotions. They were taught to suppress them, avoid them, or express them uncontrollably. But observing emotions is a skill that must be developed. It means noticing what's happening inside you without judging it. It means being curious instead of critical. It means being able to say, "I'm feeling frustration rise right now," without having to act on it immediately. It means separating yourself from the emotion long enough to understand it, not avoid it. Understand it, because when you understand it, you can manage it. This doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. Quite the opposite. It means you give them the respect they deserve by looking them in the eye. You don't suppress the anger. You examine where it's coming from. You don't run from sadness. You ask what it's pointing toward. You don't explode when you feel disrespected. You take a breath and assess whether your reaction matches the situation. That pause between the feeling and the response is what defines emotional maturity. Managing your reactions begins with self-awareness. If you never pay attention to what you're feeling, you will always be controlled by your emotions without even knowing it. You'll think you're just having a bad day, when really you're repeating a habit of frustration that you haven't examined. You'll believe someone else is making you mad when really they're triggering something unhealed within you. Without awareness, you stay stuck in loops. With awareness, you start seeing patterns. And once you see them, you can change them. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are not your jealousy, your guilt, or your shame. These are emotions that pass through you, not parts of your identity. But if you react to them immediately every time they arise, you begin to shape your life around them. You start living on emotional autopilot, saying things you don't mean, doing things you later regret, and wondering why things feel chaotic. Observing your emotions is the first step to regaining control. To observe your emotions is to slow down. In a world that moves fast, that alone is powerful. Instead of replying instantly to a text that upsets you, you pause. Instead of raising your voice when someone interrupts you, you check in with yourself. What am I actually feeling right now? What's underneath this irritation? Is this emotion from now, or is it from something old that's being triggered? These are the questions that lead to better choices. You begin to see that emotions don't always need a response. Sometimes they just need to be felt and released. You don't have to act on every feeling. You don't have to explain every shift in mood. You don't have to justify your reactions. You just need to understand them. From that understanding comes power. Because once you see the pattern, you're no longer a victim of it. You can choose something different. People who manage their emotions aren't cold or detached. They are deeply in touch with themselves. They've just learned not to let emotions run their lives. They feel everything, but they choose what gets expressed. They take time before they speak. They let emotions settle before making decisions. This isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to hold space for yourself without needing to discharge your emotion onto someone else. Emotional regulation is one of the highest forms of self-discipline. It means you are in charge of your inner world, even when the outer world is chaotic. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let feelings dictate your character. It means you can walk away from conflict instead of escalating it. It means you can stay grounded in an argument instead of losing yourself to pride or insecurity. It means you can listen to someone without taking everything personally. This skill takes practice. It takes being honest with yourself. It takes noticing when you're being reactive, when your ego is in control, when your past is leaking into the present, and it takes compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. Because some days you'll get it wrong. You'll snap, you'll shut down, you'll act from emotion instead of wisdom. But that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've been given another opportunity to reflect, learn, and do better next time. You can't manage what you don't notice. That's why observation is the key. The more often you stop and notice what's happening inside you, the more you can train your nervous system to stay calm. You can interrupt the spiral of overthinking. You can shift your emotional energy before it becomes destructive. You can ask yourself, what am I feeling, before the emotion becomes your identity. Every emotion is a teacher. Anger might be pointing to a boundary that was crossed. Sadness might be asking you to grieve something you've ignored. Anxiety might be alerting you to uncertainty that needs clarity. But if you only react, you miss the lesson. You waste the emotion on reaction instead of transformation. The people who grow the most are not the ones who avoid emotion, but the ones who learn from it. There is a calm that comes from this kind of self-mastery. Not a fake calm, not suppression, but real inner stability. A calm that says, I trust myself to feel without losing control. A calm that says, I don't need to prove anything in this moment. I can simply observe, breathe, and decide. That kind of emotional leadership makes you reliable, resilient, and strong. It allows you to face challenges without panic, to face conflict without hostility, to face yourself without shame. You don't get there overnight, but every time you choose to pause instead of react, every time you choose to observe instead of explode, you get stronger. Your emotions stop controlling you, and you start using them as information. You stop seeing emotional intensity as weakness and start seeing it as depth. You learn how to move through pain with awareness, how to stay present through discomfort, how to act from intention instead of impulse. The world doesn't need more emotional explosions. It needs people who are steady, people who are awake to their inner world and know how to respond with clarity and strength. That can be you, but only if you decide to stop being ruled by every feeling and start observing those feelings with courage, patience, and honesty. That's where freedom begins. That's how you lead yourself, and once you can lead yourself, you become someone others can trust. Not because you're perfect, but because you're responsible, present, and emotionally grounded. Chapter 6. Question your beliefs to create your own truth. Most people live by beliefs they never chose. Beliefs passed down from parents, teachers, culture, religion, or painful experiences. They grow up absorbing these ideas as facts, never stopping to ask, is this really true for me? But truth is not inherited, it's created, and unless you pause to examine what you believe and why you believe it, you will live a life shaped by other people's fears, expectations, and limitations. A belief is not a truth. It's simply a thought you've repeated enough times or heard often enough that it became a lens through which you see the world. Some beliefs help you grow, others hold you back. But if you don't question them, you can't tell the difference. You might believe you're not good enough because someone told you that when you were young. You might believe success is for other people because you failed once. You might believe you don't deserve love because someone left you. These beliefs feel real, but they aren't facts. They're stories, and stories can be rewritten. The moment you begin to question your beliefs, you give yourself permission to change. You begin to create a life based on conscious thought, not unconscious programming. You begin to ask, is this belief helping me or hurting me? You begin to realize that just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's right. Just because it's been with you a long time doesn't mean it belongs in your future. And just because it came from someone you love doesn't mean it's aligned with your truth. There are beliefs that were useful for surviving childhood that are no longer useful for thriving in adulthood. Beliefs like don't speak up, stay small, don't take risks, or don't trust others. These might have protected you once, but now they limit you. They keep you in cycles of fear, doubt, and hesitation. And the only way to grow beyond them is to challenge them directly. To look at the belief and ask, where did this come from? Who gave it to me? And do I still want to carry it? Many people are afraid to question their beliefs because it feels like betraying their identity. But questioning isn't betrayal, it's transformation, it's evolution, it's the process of becoming who you really are beneath the noise. It's realizing that you're allowed to update your thinking. You're allowed to disagree with your past. You're allowed to walk away from ideas that no longer reflect your growth. You are not a fixed version of yourself. You are fluid, and every time you challenge a belief, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You were not born with limiting beliefs. You were born with curiosity. You were born with openness. You were born without judgment about who you are or what's possible. Limiting beliefs were learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. But it requires honesty. It requires courage. It requires being willing to say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I've outgrown this idea. Maybe there's another way to see this. No one teaches you how to do this. Most systems reward obedience, not self-inquiry. From a young age, you're taught to follow rules, meet standards, and fit into categories. But if you want to live a life that's true to you, you have to stop waiting for permission. You have to start asking harder questions. Questions like, what do I believe about love, about money, about failure, about myself? And are these beliefs empowering me or limiting me? You might be surprised by what you find. You might discover you've been operating from scarcity without realizing it. You might realize you've been avoiding opportunities because of a belief that you're unworthy. You might see that you've been pushing people away because you believe closeness leads to pain. These patterns don't change until you recognize the belief behind them. Behavior follows belief. If you want different outcomes, you have to start with the mindset that created them. Your beliefs influence your identity. If you believe you're a victim, you'll see evidence everywhere that life is against you. If you believe you're capable, you'll find ways to solve problems. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll interpret every action as a threat. Your reality is shaped by the assumptions you bring to it. That's why challenging those assumptions is not just helpful, it's essential. This doesn't mean abandoning every belief. It means examining them with a clear mind. It means sorting through them and deciding which ones feel true to your soul, not just your history. You might keep some, you might refine others, and you'll absolutely throw many away. That's part of growing up, not growing older. Growing up, taking responsibility for your inner world, deciding what values you stand for, defining your own truth based on experience, not inheritance. The more you question your beliefs, the more inner clarity you gain. You stop being pulled in different directions. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop needing constant validation. Why? Because you've done the work of figuring out what matters to you. Not what your parents wanted. Not what your culture says. What you believe, deep down. And once you're clear on that, you can build a life that reflects it. This is not an overnight process. It's ongoing. You'll discover new beliefs at different stages of life. Some you'll have to release with grief because they were attached to people or identities you've outgrown. Others will surprise you, showing up in moments of stress or change. But each belief you uncover is an opportunity, an invitation to heal, to realign, to choose truth over comfort. It takes strength to do this. It takes integrity. It means being willing to outgrow people who no longer match your mindset. It means risking judgment from those who liked you better when you were more agreeable. But it's worth it, because living by borrowed beliefs leads to resentment, exhaustion, and confusion. Living by your own truth leads to peace, not ease, but peace. The peace of knowing you're not pretending. When you stop fearing the discomfort of change, you open yourself to transformation. You begin to see life as a process of becoming, not proving. You become less interested in being right and more interested in being real. You stop needing every answer to be certain and start learning how to live with the questions. And in that space of questioning, of unlearning, of self-discovery, you begin to build something rare, a life of your own making. This is your task now, not to adopt more ideas, but to clarify which ones are truly yours. Not to become someone new for others, but to become someone honest for yourself. The world is full of voices trying to define you, but only you get to decide what you believe. Only you get to choose the meaning you give to your life. And when you live from that place, not from fear, not from obligation, but from conscious choice, you begin to experience a different kind of freedom, a freedom rooted in truth. Your truth. Chapter 7. Shift focus inward to stop blaming the world. There comes a moment in your life when pointing fingers no longer solves anything. You can spend years blaming the system, your upbringing, your ex, your job, or the world for what you didn't become. But it leads nowhere. It only keeps you stuck in the same loop, hoping something out there will change so you can finally feel free. That moment you stop waiting for the world to fix itself is the same moment your real growth begins. Because as long as you keep your focus outward, you lose power. As long as you hold others responsible for your peace, you surrender control over your own life. It's easy to find reasons to be angry. It's easy to collect stories of what went wrong and who hurt you, but none of that changes your reality. The question is not, who did this to me? The question is, what can I do with this now? You might not have caused the pain. You might not have chosen the situation, but you are the one who must live with it. And living with it wisely means stepping into your own mind, not escaping into blame. You can't grow while you're pointing outward. When your energy is directed toward proving how unfair the world is, you stop evolving. You start building your identity around wounds instead of wisdom. You start expecting apologies before you move forward. And the longer you wait for others to fix what's inside you, the more time you waste. The world doesn't owe you understanding. People don't owe you closure. You owe yourself honesty. You owe yourself responsibility. The strongest decision you'll ever make is to stop outsourcing your power. Life will not always go your way. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will test you. But none of that has to define who you are or how you respond. What defines you is where you put your focus, and the person who chooses to look inward instead of outward builds a kind of strength that can't be taken away. Blame feels good in the short term. It relieves you of responsibility. It gives you a story that explains your struggle, but it also keeps you small. It traps you in narratives where you're always the victim and never the creator. And while the story might be true in parts, it's never the whole truth, because the whole truth includes your power to rise above it. The whole truth includes your ability to choose a new response. The whole truth is that healing is not found in assigning fault. It's found in reclaiming ownership of your life. When you stop blaming the world, you stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop needing approval to take action. You stop making excuses for not trying. You stop saying, "I can't because of them," and start saying, "I will because of me." This shift doesn't happen overnight. It begins slowly, with the willingness to sit in discomfort and ask yourself hard questions. Questions like, what am I avoiding by blaming others? And what part of me needs attention right now? When you turn inward, you start to notice patterns you've ignored. Maybe you react the same way every time you feel rejected. Maybe you sabotage opportunities when they get too close to your dreams. Maybe you keep repeating relationships that mirror old wounds. None of this means you're broken. It means you're human. And being human comes with the responsibility to understand yourself. Self-awareness is not about judgment. It's about clarity. When you stop blaming others, you make space to see what's really going on inside you. You begin to observe your emotional triggers instead of being controlled by them. You start to recognize the difference between reaction and intention, and you stop needing others to behave differently in order for you to feel whole. This shift changes everything. It changes how you speak to yourself. It changes how you show up in relationships. It changes the way you move through conflict. You no longer react from the wound. You respond from the awareness. You no longer defend your ego. You protect your peace. You stop expecting others to understand your journey because you're finally walking it for yourself. Many people resist this kind of self-reflection because they believe it means accepting blame. But it's not about blame. It's about agency. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose your mindset, your actions, your values, regardless of what life throws at you. You're not responsible for what others do, but you are responsible for what you do next. This kind of responsibility brings freedom. It means no one else gets to dictate your future. It means you don't have to wait for apologies, recognition, or fairness to move forward. It means your peace is no longer tied to unpredictable circumstances, and that peace earned through inner work is deeper than anything the external world can give you. You become grounded, not in perfection, but in truth. You begin to understand your emotional patterns without shaming yourself. You begin to take ownership of your time, energy, and focus. You start setting boundaries not out of anger, but out of clarity. You stop living in reaction mode and begin living by design. And when you do this consistently, something inside you shifts permanently. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You begin to experience that life is happening through you. This doesn't mean you ignore injustice. It doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior. It means you stop letting it define your identity. It means you focus on what you can change instead of obsessing over what you can't. It means you invest your energy into healing, building, and growing, rather than proving a point or winning a fight that leads nowhere. Turning inward is not passive. It's not weakness. It's a courageous act of maturity. It takes far more strength to examine your own mind than to criticize the world. It takes discipline to respond with intention instead of reacting with blame. And it takes real wisdom to understand that no matter what happens outside of you, the most important work will always be the work within. You are not powerless. You are not a product of your pain. You are a person with the capacity to reflect, to choose, to change. The path forward isn't about finding someone else to blame less. It's about choosing to focus more on the one person you can actually transform yourself. When you do that, your world begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because your relationship to it did. And that shift, quiet, internal, steady, is how real transformation begins. Not by yelling at the world to change, but by changing how you see, how you feel, and how you respond to it. When you master your inner focus, you no longer need the world to be perfect. You just need to be present, aware, and willing to take full ownership of your next step. That is where your strength lives. That is where your peace begins. Chapter 8. Slow down your thoughts to see things clearly. When your mind is racing, the truth becomes blurred. You can't make good decisions when your thoughts are tangled. You can't understand your own feelings when you're being pulled in every direction by mental noise. Most of the chaos you feel isn't from the outside, it's from inside your own head. It's the pressure of overthinking, the burden of imagining every possible outcome, the exhaustion from constantly trying to stay ahead of problems that haven't even happened. And when you live in that state too long, everything starts to feel urgent. Every thought feels like a crisis. Every small issue feels like a threat. And without realizing it, you stop living. You start reacting. You can't see clearly when your thoughts are in a rush. A mind that never slows down becomes its own prison. You might look calm on the outside, but inside you're spinning, analyzing, replaying conversations, predicting the worst. And the more you do that, the more distant you become from reality. You stop noticing what's in front of you. You miss the good. You inflate the bad. You carry tension in your body that you can't explain. And worst of all, you forget what it feels like to just be here, now, without needing to figure everything out at once. Slowing down your thoughts isn't about becoming passive. It's about becoming intentional. When you allow your mind to settle, the noise clears and you begin to notice what really matters. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't serve you. You stop reacting to every small trigger. You begin to choose your focus instead of letting it be hijacked by worry. That's when clarity shows up. That's when the answers you were chasing start to become visible. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from thinking slower. Most people believe they need to think more to solve their problems. But often, the opposite is true. You need space. You need silence between thoughts. You need time to breathe before you respond. In that space, your intuition becomes stronger. Your judgment becomes sharper. You stop confusing urgency with importance. You stop assuming that every uncomfortable feeling needs immediate resolution, and you start trusting that not every thought deserves your full attention. A fast mind is often a fearful mind. It's constantly trying to prevent pain, avoid mistakes, control outcomes. But that speed doesn't protect you. It drains you, and eventually it breaks your connection to your deeper self. Slowing down reconnects you to that deeper part, the part that sees without panic, that listens without judgment, that understands without needing everything to make sense right away. That part of you isn't in a hurry. It knows that real answers come with time, not force. You begin to realize that many of your problems were never as big as they seemed. They only felt overwhelming because you never gave yourself time to pause. Your mind blew them up. It created stories, imagined consequences, repeated past pain. But when you slow down and observe instead of react, you start to see what's actually there, not what your fear says is there. And often that shift in perception is enough to dissolve the tension you've been carrying. The pace of your thoughts affects the quality of your life. If your mind is always racing, you'll never feel peace, no matter how perfect your circumstances are. If your thoughts are chaotic, your relationships will suffer, your creativity will shrink, your health will decline. It's not because you're broken, it's because your mind is overloaded, and the solution isn't to push harder. It's to step back, to notice your thoughts without letting them take over, to give yourself permission to stop solving and start seeing. One powerful way to slow down is to become aware of your breath. The breath is always present, always steady, always honest. When you shift your attention there, even for a few seconds, you interrupt the mental noise. You give your system a break, and in that pause, clarity begins to return. Another way is to question the urgency of your thoughts. Ask yourself, does this need to be figured out right now? Most of the time, the answer is no. You've simply been conditioned to believe that constant thinking equals control. But real control comes from inner stillness, not from mental overload. There's also value in doing less. Slowing down your schedule helps slow down your thoughts. If your life is packed with tasks and distractions, your mind won't get the space it needs. You can't expect clarity in a chaotic environment. You have to protect your mental space. That might mean saying no more often. It might mean turning off noise. It might mean spending more time alone. These aren't luxuries, they are necessities if you want to live with awareness instead of anxiety. Clarity isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover. And to uncover it, you have to stop moving long enough to see what's already there. You have to stop letting your thoughts run ahead of your life, because when your mind races, it's always a few steps ahead of the present, and when you're ahead of the present, you miss your own life. You miss the signs, you miss the truth. Slowing down helps you return to yourself, not the self that's trying to be everything to everyone. The self that knows what matters and what doesn't. The self that isn't easily shaken by fear or pressure. The self that can sit in stillness and still feel strong. This doesn't mean your thoughts will disappear. It means you won't be ruled by them. You'll start to notice when your mind is drifting into chaos, and you'll gently bring it back. You'll catch yourself before you spiral. You'll create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you'll find freedom. Not because life became easier, but because you became more present. You'll also find that your relationships improve. When your thoughts slow down, you listen better, you respond with care, you stop projecting your stress onto others, you stop reacting out of assumption, and the people around you feel the difference. They feel safer, they feel heard, because when your mind is calm, your presence becomes healing. Slowing down your thoughts isn't a one-time practice, it's a way of living. It's a daily decision to stop feeding mental chaos, to stop mistaking busyness for purpose, to stop believing that stress is a sign of success. True clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from thinking clearly, and to think clearly, you have to think slowly. So start now. Just pause. Notice the pace of your mind. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what's actually happening right now? Not what your thoughts say might happen, not what happened yesterday, not what you fear tomorrow, just this moment. When you return to the moment, you return to your power, and in that stillness, life becomes less about surviving and more about seeing. Seeing clearly, living clearly, choosing clearly. That's the power of a quiet mind. That's the beginning of real freedom. Chapter 9. Use self-awareness to make better life choices. Self-awareness is the foundation of every good decision you make. Without it, you are navigating life in the dark, relying on habits, impulses, and external influences rather than conscious choice. When you develop true self-awareness, you gain a clearer understanding of who you are, what you value, and how your thoughts and emotions shape your actions. This clarity allows you to step away from reactive behavior and start making intentional decisions that align with your goals and well-being. Being self-aware means paying attention to your internal world, your thoughts, feelings, motivations, and behaviors. It's about observing without judgment and recognizing patterns that either support or hinder your growth. This kind of honest self-examination is not easy because it requires humility and courage. It means confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself. But this discomfort is temporary and necessary because it opens the door to better choices and deeper fulfillment. Without self-awareness, you might find yourself stuck in cycles of poor decisions. You may choose jobs that drain you, relationships that hurt you, or habits that sabotage your progress, all because you're operating on autopilot. You might react impulsively, blame others for your mistakes, or ignore warning signs until problems become crises. But once you begin to understand your triggers, your desires, and your fears, you gain the power to change these patterns. Self-awareness allows you to recognize when your decisions are influenced by fear, insecurity, or social pressure rather than your true desires. It helps you pause before acting, giving you a moment to evaluate whether your choices serve your long-term happiness or short-term comfort. This pause is the difference between living deliberately and drifting through life. Developing self-awareness starts with regular reflection. This can be through journaling, meditation, or simply quiet moments of introspection. Ask yourself questions like, what do I really want? What scares me? When do I feel most alive? When do I feel drained? What patterns keep repeating in my life? These questions guide you toward understanding your authentic self beyond external expectations. As you deepen your self-awareness, you become more attuned to your values, the principles that truly matter to you. Knowing your values acts as a compass, helping you navigate choices with confidence. When faced with decisions, ask yourself, does this align with what I stand for? Does this move me closer to the person I want to become? This mindset reduces regret and increases satisfaction because your choices are grounded in your genuine priorities. Self-awareness also sharpens your emotional intelligence. You begin to recognize how your emotions influence your decision-making process. For example, you may notice that you tend to make impulsive purchases when anxious or avoid difficult conversations when fearful. Understanding these emotional patterns allows you to develop healthier coping strategies and make choices that reflect reason and intention, rather than temporary feelings. Another vital aspect of self-awareness is recognizing your strengths and limitations. Being honest about what you excel at and where you need support prevents wasted energy on unrealistic goals or unhealthy comparisons. It encourages seeking help when necessary and celebrating your unique abilities. This balanced perspective fosters resilience and keeps you grounded during challenging times. Self-awareness can also help you identify cognitive biases, mental shortcuts, and distortions that cloud judgment. These include confirmation bias, where you favor information that supports your existing beliefs, or negativity bias, where you focus more on negative experiences than positive ones. By being aware of these tendencies, you can question your assumptions, seek diverse perspectives, and make more balanced decisions. Making better life choices through self-awareness involves setting clear boundaries. When you know what drains you or violates your values, you can say no to people, situations, or commitments that don't serve your well-being. This frees up space for what truly matters and prevents burnout. Boundaries are not selfish, they are acts of self-respect and clarity. Self-awareness also improves your relationships. When you understand your communication style, emotional triggers, and needs, you can express yourself more effectively and navigate conflicts with greater empathy. You stop blaming others and start taking responsibility for your role in interactions. This shift fosters healthier connections and reduces unnecessary drama. Importantly, self-awareness is not about perfection. It's about progress. You will make mistakes, sometimes acting out of old habits or blind spots. The difference is that with self-awareness, you catch yourself sooner, learn from the experience, and adjust your course. This cycle of reflection, learning, and growth becomes a powerful tool for continuous improvement. To cultivate self-awareness, practice mindfulness throughout your day. Notice how you feel during different activities, around certain people, or when faced with challenges. Check in with yourself regularly. This ongoing awareness builds a habit of conscious living where your choices are guided by clarity rather than confusion. Sometimes, external feedback helps develop self-awareness. Trusted friends, mentors, or coaches can offer insights into your blind spots or patterns you might miss. Being open to honest feedback is a strength that accelerates your personal growth. Remember, self-awareness is not isolation, it's connection with yourself and others in a meaningful way. Using self-awareness to make better choices also requires patience. Change doesn't happen overnight. You might recognize a harmful pattern, but find it difficult to break immediately. That's normal. Celebrate small wins and be compassionate with yourself. Every moment you choose awareness over autopilot, you strengthen your capacity to live intentionally. In moments of uncertainty, self-awareness can be your anchor. When life presents difficult decisions, you can return to your core values and inner wisdom to guide you. This prevents panic and rash decisions. It cultivates trust in your ability to navigate complexity with calm and confidence. Remember, your life is the sum of the choices you make. Those choices are shaped by what you know about yourself. The more self-aware you become, the more aligned your actions are with your deepest truth. This alignment is what creates a life that feels meaningful, fulfilling, and authentic. Ultimately, self-awareness empowers you to become the architect of your own life. It frees you from unconscious reactions and societal programming. It invites you to live with purpose and clarity, making decisions that reflect your highest potential. This path is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. It leads to a life where every choice is a step toward becoming your best self. Chapter 10. Listen deeply to your inner voice every day. Your inner voice is the most honest guide you will ever have. It speaks quietly, often drowned out by the noise of daily life, but when you listen deeply, it reveals your true desires, fears, and wisdom. This voice is not about external opinions or expectations. It's the core of who you are, untouched by judgment or fear. Learning to listen to it every day is one of the most transformative habits you can develop because it connects you to your authentic self and helps you make decisions aligned with your true purpose. Many people confuse the inner voice with the ego's chatter or anxious thoughts. The ego speaks loudly, with demands and worries. The anxious mind floods you with what-ifs and fears about failure or rejection. The inner voice, however, is calm, clear, and steady. It's not reactive, it's reflective. It doesn't shout to be heard, but patiently waits for your attention. The challenge is creating space to hear it above all the distractions. To listen deeply to this voice, you must slow down and be present. In the rush of modern life, you might miss subtle signals, feelings, insights, nudges that your inner self is trying to share. These signals often come through your body sensations or quiet moments of intuition. When you take time to be still, you give yourself permission to tune in and notice these subtle messages. This practice is not a one-time event, but a daily commitment to self-attunement. Trusting your inner voice is equally important. It might tell you things that go against logic, social expectations, or past patterns. It might ask you to take risks, set boundaries, or change course. It might challenge your fears and invite you to act courageously. When you ignore or dismiss this voice, you disconnect from your deepest wisdom, leading to confusion, dissatisfaction, and frustration. Listening to your inner voice also helps you recognize when you're out of alignment. You might find yourself in situations where something feels off, but you can't explain why. That discomfort is your inner voice signaling that your current path or choice is not serving you. Learning to pay attention to these feelings prevents long-term regret and burnout. It guides you to make shifts before problems escalate. Deep listening builds self-trust. When you consistently acknowledge your inner guidance, you develop confidence in your judgment. You learn that you don't always need external validation or constant advice from others. This autonomy creates resilience and clarity, enabling you to navigate life's challenges with greater ease. Developing this skill requires practice and patience. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day for quiet reflection. It could be sitting in stillness, journaling, or mindful breathing. Ask yourself open-ended questions like, what do I truly need right now? Or what is my intuition telling me about this situation? Write down any thoughts or feelings without censoring them. Over time, you'll notice recurring themes and clearer insights. Avoid judging or overanalyzing the messages you receive. Sometimes the inner voice speaks in emotions or images rather than words. It might come as a subtle feeling of peace or tension. It might show up as a sudden idea or a pull towards a certain action. Accept these messages as they are, without forcing them into a neat explanation. The goal is awareness, not control. Listening deeply also involves tuning into your body. The body often knows before the mind understands. Pay attention to physical sensations when making decisions or facing stress. Notice when your chest tightens, your stomach churns, or your energy shifts. These sensations are valuable feedback from your inner system. When you respect and respond to them, you honor your whole self, not just your intellect. There will be times when your inner voice challenges you to face uncomfortable truths or take responsibility for change. This can feel scary because it demands courage and honesty. However, the discomfort of ignoring your inner guidance is far greater over time. Living disconnected from your true self leads to feelings of emptiness, anxiety, and regret. In relationships, listening to your inner voice helps you set healthy boundaries and communicate authentically. It guides you to express your needs clearly and recognize when someone's actions don't align with your values. This awareness protects your energy and nurtures connections based on mutual respect. Deep listening transforms the way you approach goals and aspirations. Instead of chasing what looks good on the surface or following societal scripts, you pursue what resonates with your heart and soul. Your inner voice acts as a compass, guiding you toward fulfillment rather than temporary satisfaction. This alignment makes your efforts more sustainable and your successes more meaningful. It's important to remember that the inner voice may sometimes contradict your logical mind. This isn't a sign of weakness or confusion, but a sign that your unconscious wisdom is speaking. Rather than ignoring this tension, embrace it as an invitation to explore further. Ask questions, seek clarity, and remain open to shifting your perspective. In moments of doubt, returning to your inner voice offers reassurance and strength. It reminds you of your values, your capabilities, and your purpose. It encourages patience when progress feels slow, and resilience when obstacles arise. This steady presence becomes a source of comfort and motivation. As you deepen your practice, you'll notice that your daily decisions become more aligned and effortless. You'll choose activities, relationships, and paths that nurture your growth instead of drain your energy. You'll stop second-guessing yourself because you've learned to listen to the quiet wisdom within. This trust in your inner voice builds a foundation for a life that feels authentic and empowered. Listening deeply requires commitment because it often means stepping away from distractions and the opinions of others. It asks for solitude and silence in a world that values noise and busyness. But this sacrifice is a gift to yourself. It's the difference between living a life shaped by outside forces and a life created from within. Ultimately, your inner voice is the source of your unique truth. It holds the answers that no one else can provide. When you make a habit of listening to it every day, you cultivate a relationship with yourself that is honest, compassionate, and strong. This relationship is the cornerstone of personal growth, resilience, and peace. You don't have to wait for special moments to hear your inner voice. It's accessible right now, beneath the chatter, beneath the expectations. It waits patiently for you to turn your attention inward. The more you listen, the clearer and stronger it becomes. And the more you live in alignment with this voice, the more your life reflects your true self. Trust this process. Make time each day to listen deeply without judgment or expectation. Notice what arises and honor those insights with action. Over time, you will discover a wellspring of guidance within that never fails. This inner voice is your greatest ally, your wisest mentor, and your most loyal friend. Let it lead you toward a life that is not just lived, but truly known and deeply felt. Chapter 11. Notice your triggers to gain emotional freedom fast. Emotional freedom begins the moment you recognize what sets you off. Many people live their lives reacting automatically to situations without understanding why certain things provoke strong feelings inside. This lack of awareness keeps emotions controlling behavior instead of behavior guiding emotions. Identifying your triggers is the first step to breaking free from this cycle because it reveals the hidden buttons others or circumstances press that make you lose your calm. When you notice these triggers clearly, you gain the ability to choose your response instead of being hijacked by emotion. Triggers are often rooted in past experiences, unresolved pain, or deep fears. They act like shortcuts to intense feelings, anger, anxiety, sadness, that may not relate directly to the present moment. A simple comment or action can suddenly feel like a threat because it touches on an old wound. Without awareness, you might blame others or feel victimized by your feelings. But the truth is, your triggers belong to you. They are internal maps that point to areas needing attention and healing. The power of noticing triggers is that it brings what was unconscious into consciousness. When emotions flare, pause and ask yourself, what exactly triggered me? What memories or beliefs does this connect to? How am I interpreting this situation? This kind of inquiry shifts you from reactive to reflective. It creates space between stimulus and response, giving you a choice rather than an automatic reaction. Recognizing triggers is not about avoiding discomfort or pretending you don't feel upset. It's about understanding your emotional landscape with honesty. This means being willing to look at parts of yourself you might have ignored or denied. It's not easy because triggers can expose vulnerabilities you'd rather hide, but facing them directly is the quickest path to emotional freedom. Once you identify a trigger, you can begin to reprogram your response. Instead of reacting with anger, fear, or withdrawal, you learn to pause and observe the feeling without judgment. This might involve deep breathing, grounding techniques, or reminding yourself that the present situation is not the same as the past event that caused the pain. Over time, this practice weakens the trigger's power and strengthens your ability to respond calmly. Notice how often you may be triggered by small things that pile up unnoticed. Daily irritations, subtle comments, or changes in routine might all be activating your stress response. When you ignore these signals, they accumulate and explode later in unhealthy ways. By paying attention to early warning signs, you can prevent emotional overwhelm and maintain balance. It's important to distinguish between healthy emotional reactions and triggered responses. Feeling upset when treated unfairly is valid. but reacting disproportionately because the situation echoes a past trauma requires awareness. The difference lies in the clarity of your response. Emotional freedom comes from responding based on the reality of the moment, not the shadows of your history. Another benefit of noticing triggers is improved relationships. When you understand what pushes your buttons, you can communicate your needs and boundaries more effectively. You stop blaming others for your feelings and take responsibility for your emotional health. This shift creates space for empathy and reduces conflict. Building this awareness takes practice and patience. Start by keeping a journal of moments when your emotions spike. Write down what happened, how you felt, what thoughts arose, and what you believe caused the reaction. Over time, patterns emerge, revealing your common triggers. This clarity gives you tools to manage these moments differently. Mindfulness exercises are also powerful in increasing trigger awareness. By practicing present moment attention, you become more attuned to subtle changes in your body and mind. You notice tension, racing thoughts, or a shift in energy before emotions erupt. This early recognition allows you to intervene sooner. Remember that emotional freedom is not about eliminating triggers completely. They will always exist. It's about changing your relationship with them. When a trigger arises, instead of feeling powerless, you respond with awareness and choice. You learn to soothe yourself rather than escalate the situation. Sometimes triggers reveal deeper layers of your psyche that need healing. Rather than suppressing these emotions, consider exploring them through therapy, support groups, or honest conversations with trusted people. Healing these wounds reduces the intensity and frequency of triggers, leading to lasting emotional resilience. Notice that when you ignore your triggers, you may numb your emotions with distractions, substances, or avoidance. This creates a false sense of control, but only delays the inevitable. Facing triggers with courage and curiosity is the authentic path to freedom. As you gain mastery over your triggers, you experience a new level of peace. Your emotions become your allies, providing information instead of chaos. You handle stress with grace and respond to challenges with clarity. This emotional intelligence enhances every area of your life, from work to personal relationships. Emotional freedom through trigger awareness also opens the door to greater self-compassion. You stop judging yourself harshly for feeling upset and start recognizing your humanity. This kindness fuels your healing and encourages continuous growth. Ultimately, noticing your triggers is a practice of reclaiming power. It shifts you from being controlled by hidden emotional patterns to being the conscious leader of your inner world. This transformation happens quickly once you commit to the work, because awareness itself dissolves the grip of triggers. You have the capacity to interrupt old cycles. You have the strength to respond with intention. You have the wisdom to learn from every emotional challenge. This is the essence of emotional freedom, living with a calm mind and an open heart, regardless of external circumstances. Start today by paying attention to what sets you off. Observe without blame. Question without fear. Practice responding with presence and patience. Every moment you do this, you build a habit that leads to profound freedom. This freedom is not distant or theoretical. It's available now and within reach. The more you notice your triggers, the less power they have. The more you respond consciously, the more peace you create inside, and the more peace you cultivate, the more your life reflects your true self. Emotional freedom is your birthright. It begins with awareness and grows with every choice you make. Chapter 12. Strengthen your discipline by knowing your real needs. Discipline is often seen as willpower or forcing oneself to do things despite resistance. Yet, true discipline grows from a deeper place, understanding your real needs. When discipline aligns with what you genuinely require for your well-being and growth, it becomes sustainable, even natural. Without this connection, discipline feels like a battle, a struggle that drains motivation and leads to burnout. Knowing your real needs provides clarity about why discipline matters and gives it purpose beyond external goals or fleeting motivation. Real needs go beyond surface desires or momentary wants. They speak to your body, mind, and spirit. These needs might include physical health, emotional balance, meaningful relationships, intellectual stimulation, or a sense of purpose. When you identify these core needs clearly, discipline shifts from being a forced effort to an act of self-care. You no longer discipline yourself to meet others' expectations, but to honor what truly sustains you. Many people confuse habits or routines with discipline, but habits can be empty if they don't connect to real needs. Discipline rooted in real needs feels fulfilling rather than draining. It motivates you because it supports your well-being. For example, choosing to exercise daily is easier to maintain when it's tied to your need for energy, strength, or mental clarity rather than just a desire to look a certain way. To strengthen discipline through knowing your needs, begin by asking honest questions. What does my body need to function at its best? What emotions am I neglecting that require attention? What mental challenges excite me and keep me growing? What values must I honor to feel aligned? These questions help uncover deeper motivations that fuel discipline. Once you identify your needs, create goals and routines that serve them. This alignment makes it easier to say no to distractions and yes to consistent effort. When your daily actions connect to authentic needs, discipline becomes a positive force rather than a chore. It transforms from punishment to empowerment. Self-awareness plays a critical role in this process. Pay attention to moments when discipline falters. Often this signals a disconnect between actions and real needs. You might push yourself toward a goal that no longer fits or ignore signs of exhaustion. Discipline grows stronger when you regularly check in with yourself, adjust your approach, and respect your limits. Discipline supported by real needs also includes patience and flexibility. It recognizes that life changes and needs evolve. Holding rigidly to old routines without reflection leads to frustration. Instead, adapt discipline to reflect your current state. This balance prevents burnout and sustains long-term commitment. Knowing your real needs encourages a compassionate approach to discipline. Instead of harsh self-judgment for slipping up, you respond with curiosity and kindness. You ask why a particular discipline felt difficult and whether it still serves your deeper purpose. This mindset promotes resilience and continuous improvement. Discipline fueled by authentic needs impacts more than just productivity. It enhances mental clarity and emotional stability. When you honor your needs, stress decreases because your actions support rather than contradict your well-being. This harmony creates space for creativity, focus, and joy. Recognizing your real needs also helps prioritize. Not every discipline is equally important. You can focus on what truly matters instead of spreading yourself thin. This focused discipline leads to meaningful progress and reduces feelings of overwhelm. Strengthening discipline through real needs involves clear boundaries. Knowing what you require helps you protect your time and energy. It empowers you to say no to obligations or habits that undermine your health and growth. Boundaries are expressions of discipline aligned with self-respect. Daily practices build this awareness and connection. Mindful check-ins, journaling, or meditation help you stay attuned to evolving needs. These habits foster a deeper relationship with yourself, making discipline feel like an act of love rather than struggle. Discipline, guided by real needs, also improves decision-making. When faced with choices, you evaluate options based on how well they serve your core needs. This clarity reduces indecision and regret. It increases confidence in your path. This approach to discipline challenges the common idea that success requires sacrifice of self. Instead, it reveals that honoring yourself is the foundation of sustained achievement. Discipline without self-care is unsustainable. Discipline with self-care is transformative. Over time, this alignment builds momentum. You experience less resistance because your actions feed your well-being. You become more consistent and motivated. Discipline no longer depends solely on willpower, but flows naturally from your inner understanding. Strengthening discipline by knowing your real needs also encourages balance. You learn to give attention not just to work or goals, but to rest, relationships and joy. This balance supports sustainable growth and prevents burnout. This kind of discipline cultivates a powerful sense of agency. You take ownership of your choices with clarity and intention. You stop reacting to external pressures and start living by your own standards. This ownership builds confidence and freedom. Remember, your real needs are unique and personal. They may change over time. Regular reflection ensures your discipline remains aligned and effective. This ongoing process is part of lifelong growth. Finally, discipline grounded in real needs transforms how you experience challenges. Difficulties become opportunities to deepen your connection with yourself. You face obstacles with resilience because your discipline supports your true well-being. Building discipline this way invites a life that is both productive and fulfilling. It honors your whole self and your unique journey. It is a path to not just achieving goals, but thriving in every aspect of life. Commit to knowing your real needs deeply. Let this knowledge be the foundation of your discipline. When discipline serves your authentic self, it becomes unstoppable. Chapter 13. Detach from ego to find lasting inner peace. Detaching from the ego is one of the most important steps toward achieving lasting inner peace. The ego is that part of us that constantly seeks approval, craves recognition, and fears failure or rejection. It thrives on comparison, judgment, and the need to be right or superior. This inner voice often creates turmoil by attaching our sense of worth to external circumstances or opinions. When the ego controls our thoughts and actions, we become trapped in cycles of anxiety, frustration, and dissatisfaction. True peace arises when you recognize the ego's patterns and gently step away from them. The ego builds a false identity around who it thinks you should be, rather than who you truly are. It pushes you to defend yourself, protect your image, and prove your value to others. This creates tension and conflict both within yourself and in your relationships. When you detach from this need to protect the ego's fragile self-image, you free yourself from constant struggle. You stop reacting defensively and start responding with calm and clarity. Detachment from the ego does not mean ignoring yourself or becoming passive. It means observing your thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. It's the ability to see the ego's voice as just one part of your experience, rather than the whole story. This shift allows you to create space between stimulus and reaction, breaking the automatic patterns that cause suffering. This detachment begins with self-awareness. Notice when your ego is triggered by criticism, praise, or any threat to your self-image. Observe how it tries to justify, blame, or elevate itself. By watching these responses without judgment, you weaken the ego's grip. You realize that these thoughts are habitual and not absolute truth. A key practice is to question the ego's demands. When you feel the urge to prove something or seek validation, ask, "Why do I need this? What fear lies beneath this desire?" This questioning reveals the underlying insecurities that drive the ego. Facing these fears reduces their power and helps you move beyond them. Detaching from the ego also means releasing the need to control how others perceive you. This freedom brings peace because you stop chasing approval and start living authentically. When your actions come from a place of integrity rather than image management, you experience less stress and more fulfillment. Inner peace grows as you let go of comparison and competition. The ego measures your worth against others, leading to jealousy, resentment, or pride. When you detach from this mindset, you accept yourself as you are and appreciate others without judgment. This acceptance opens the door to compassion and connection. Detachment helps you embrace impermanence and uncertainty. The ego fears loss, change, and vulnerability. It clings to status, possessions, and identities for security. Letting go of these attachments allows you to face life's ups and downs with grace. You find peace in the present moment rather than grasping for control over the future. Meditation and mindfulness are powerful tools to practice ego detachment. These practices teach you to observe your thoughts and feelings without getting entangled. Over time, you realize that your true self is the silent awareness behind these mental activities. This awareness is untouched by ego and is the source of lasting peace. Another aspect of detaching from the ego is embracing humility. Humility does not mean self-deprecation, but recognizing your limitations and interconnectedness with others. It reduces the ego's need for superiority and opens you to learning and growth. Humility fosters resilience because you accept challenges without taking them personally. Detachment also involves forgiveness, both for yourself and others. The ego holds grudges and resents perceived slights. Releasing these feelings frees you from emotional burdens that disturb your peace. Forgiveness is a conscious choice to let go of past hurts and reclaim your emotional freedom. Practicing detachment helps in handling criticism constructively. Instead of reacting defensively, you can listen openly and decide what feedback is useful. This openness strengthens your confidence because you no longer fear judgment or rejection. When you detach from the ego, you stop identifying with failures or successes as ultimate measures of your worth. You view these experiences as lessons rather than judgments. This perspective encourages persistence and reduces fear of failure. Detachment also improves relationships by reducing conflicts caused by ego-driven needs. You become less reactive and more compassionate, able to listen and respond without defensiveness. This creates space for authentic connection and mutual respect. In daily life, practice detachment by reminding yourself that thoughts and emotions are temporary. They come and go like clouds passing in the sky. Your true self is the clear space in which these clouds appear. Anchoring your identity in this awareness helps you remain calm amid chaos. Detaching from the ego allows you to live with greater freedom. You no longer feel imprisoned by societal expectations or personal insecurities. You act from authenticity and integrity, which brings deeper satisfaction and peace. This process requires patience and persistence. The ego is deeply ingrained and will resist letting go. You may face moments of doubt, fear, or temptation to return to old patterns. These challenges are part of growth. Each time you choose detachment, you strengthen your peace. True inner peace is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of calm amidst them. Detaching from the ego creates this calm by freeing you from mental turmoil. It connects you to a deeper sense of self that is constant and unshaken by external circumstances. Ultimately, detaching from the ego is an act of self-love. It means caring for your inner well-being above superficial appearances. It means choosing peace over conflict, authenticity over pretense, and freedom over fear. The more you practice this detachment, the more your life reflects inner harmony. You handle difficulties with equanimity and relate to others with kindness. You become a steady presence in a world of change. Let this practice guide you daily. When ego-driven thoughts arise, acknowledge them without judgment and return to your center. This simple act builds lasting peace. Detaching from the ego reveals your true nature, a being of calm, wisdom, and compassion. This nature is always present, waiting for your attention. As you nurture this connection, you discover the peace that is not dependent on external conditions, but comes from within. Chapter 14. Pay attention to small habits that shape your life. Small habits hold enormous power over the course of your life. They are the seemingly insignificant actions repeated daily that quietly determine your health, mindset, relationships, and success. Many overlook these tiny choices because they seem too minor to matter. Yet, over time, they compound into either positive growth or stagnation. Paying close attention to these habits and intentionally shaping them is the key to lasting transformation. Each day presents countless moments where habits influence your life. The way you start your morning, how you respond to challenges, the food you choose, or how you treat yourself and others. These moments may seem trivial, but collectively create your reality. Recognizing this truth empowers you to take control of your future by adjusting the small routines that shape your present. Most people aim for dramatic changes, but fail to realize the foundation of change is built on small, consistent actions. Trying to overhaul everything at once often leads to overwhelm and failure. Instead, focusing on manageable habits creates momentum that builds over time. For example, drinking a glass of water every morning or spending 5 minutes stretching daily may appear minor, but initiates a chain of positive effects on your energy and focus. It's crucial to be mindful of the habits that do not serve you as well. Negative habits often go unnoticed because they are embedded in routine. Checking your phone endlessly, procrastinating, or engaging in negative self-talk may feel automatic. Awareness is the first step to disrupt these patterns. Once you recognize them, you can consciously choose healthier alternatives. Tracking your habits brings clarity. Keeping a simple journal or using an app helps identify which habits support your goals and which hinder them. Recording your progress increases accountability and encourages reflection. This awareness helps you prioritize habits that align with your true values and long-term vision. Habits thrive in environments that support them. Setting up your surroundings to make good habits easier enhances your chances of success. For example, placing healthy snacks within reach or organizing your workspace to minimize distractions fosters positive behavior. Conversely, removing temptations or triggers linked to negative habits reduces resistance. Consistency matters more than intensity when it comes to habits. It's better to commit to small actions daily than sporadic intense efforts. Small habits are sustainable and less likely to trigger burnout. This steady pace cultivates discipline and patience, qualities essential for lifelong growth. Over time, these small habits create identity shifts. Your actions shape your beliefs about yourself. When you consistently follow through on simple commitments, you build self-trust and confidence. This internal reinforcement motivates you to tackle bigger challenges and elevate your life further. Paying attention to your habits also improves self-awareness. It reveals your priorities, values, and areas needing growth. You learn how your daily choices align with your goals and where adjustments are necessary. This insight fosters intentional living rather than reactive existence. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of changing one small habit. Improving your sleep routine, for example, boosts mood, focus and productivity, which positively influences other areas of life. Small wins create a sense of progress that fuels motivation and resilience. Breaking a habit requires more than willpower. It needs understanding and strategy. Identify the cues that trigger the habit, the routine itself, and the rewards it provides. By modifying these elements, you can replace harmful habits with beneficial ones. For instance, if stress leads you to unhealthy snacking, find alternative ways to manage stress, such as walking or deep breathing. Celebrating small successes reinforces new habits. Acknowledging your effort, no matter how minor, encourages persistence. Positive reinforcement strengthens neural pathways and makes the habit easier to maintain. Avoid focusing solely on outcomes. Appreciate the process. Small habits also impact your emotional well-being. Simple acts like expressing gratitude, practicing kindness, or taking mindful breaths shift your mood and perspective. These habits cultivate a mindset of positivity and resilience, equipping you to handle life's challenges with greater ease. Social support plays a role in habit formation. Sharing your goals and progress with trusted people creates accountability and encouragement. Surrounding yourself with individuals who embody habits you aspire to develop inspires and motivates you to maintain consistency. Be patient with yourself when habits falter. Change is rarely linear, and setbacks are part of growth. Instead of harsh self-criticism, use missteps as opportunities to learn and adjust your approach. This compassionate mindset sustains momentum and builds emotional strength. Small habits influence your long-term health profoundly. Daily choices about movement, nutrition, and rest accumulate over years, affecting vitality and longevity. Prioritizing simple, healthy routines today pays dividends far into the future. Reflect regularly on your habits to ensure they remain aligned with your evolving goals. Life circumstances and priorities shift, requiring you to adapt your routines. Flexibility allows you to maintain progress without feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Pay attention to the subtle habits that shape your mindset as well. How you speak to yourself, what you focus on, and the thoughts you nurture influence your mental landscape. Cultivating empowering thoughts and self-talk builds a foundation for confidence and peace. Finally, remember that every habit, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you want to become. These votes accumulate silently and shape your character and destiny. By consciously choosing habits that support your growth, you design a life that reflects your highest potential. Commit to observing and refining your habits daily. Small intentional changes may seem insignificant at first, but become the building blocks of profound transformation. Your future self will thank you for the attention and care you give your daily choices today. Chapter 15. Reflect on your failures to grow with purpose. Failure is often viewed as something to avoid or be ashamed of, yet it holds immense value for those willing to learn from it. Reflecting on failures with honesty and openness transforms them from setbacks into powerful tools for growth. Without this reflection, failure can become a source of discouragement or stagnation. When approached with purpose, failure offers clarity about what needs to change and how to move forward more wisely. Reflection requires stepping back and examining failure without emotional charge or blame. It means asking clear questions about what happened, why it happened, and what role your choices played. This process turns failure into a mirror, showing patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities for improvement. Through reflection, you discover lessons that propel you toward your goals with greater insight. The first step is to accept failure as a natural part of progress. Every success story contains failures that preceded it. Accepting failure reduces fear and opens you to the truth. It reveals. Instead of avoiding failure or pretending it didn't happen, meet it fully and extract its meaning. Honest reflection means removing excuses and justifications. This can be uncomfortable but is necessary for true learning. Consider how your actions, decisions, or mindset contributed to the outcome. Avoid blaming external factors exclusively. This ownership increases your ability to influence future results. As you analyze failures, identify specific areas where change is needed. Perhaps skills require development, habits need adjustment, or attitudes must shift. Pinpointing precise changes prevents vague resolutions and promotes focused action. Reflection also encourages patience and self-compassion. Growth takes time, and setbacks do not define your worth. Treat yourself with kindness as you face mistakes. This compassionate approach maintains motivation and reduces the risk of giving up. Writing about your failures deepens reflection. Journaling allows you to articulate thoughts and feelings clearly, uncover hidden insights, and track progress. Regularly reviewing these reflections reveals patterns and measures growth over time. Learning from failure sharpens problem-solving skills. You begin to anticipate challenges, prepare better strategies, and adapt more quickly. This resilience turns obstacles into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Reflection on failure strengthens emotional intelligence. You become more aware of how emotions influence decisions and how to regulate them better. This awareness improves decision-making and interpersonal relationships. Sharing reflections on failure with trusted people fosters humility and connection. Discussing mistakes openly removes shame and invites support and alternative perspectives. This exchange can inspire new ideas and encouragement. To grow with purpose, set clear goals informed by your reflections. Use failure as a guide to refine your direction and strategies. Align your efforts with these new insights to increase effectiveness. Avoid dwelling on failure or ruminating excessively. Reflection is about learning and moving forward, not being stuck in regret. Balance reflection with action by applying lessons in practical ways. Building a mindset that values failure as feedback creates a foundation for lifelong learning. You become fearless in facing challenges because you trust your ability to grow from any experience. Recognize that failure often reveals deeper truths about your values and priorities. Reflection can uncover whether your goals align with your authentic self or if adjustments are necessary. This clarity ensures your growth is meaningful and fulfilling. The courage to reflect on failure also cultivates humility. You acknowledge imperfection and embrace vulnerability. This humility opens the door to wisdom and continuous improvement. Reflection transforms failure into a powerful teacher that guides your evolution. Each failure becomes a chapter in your growth story, rich with insights and new directions. By engaging with failure purposefully, you develop strength, wisdom, and resilience. You no longer fear failure, but see it as an essential part of your journey. Commit to regular reflection after each setback. Ask what went wrong, what you learned, and what you will do differently. This discipline builds a habit of growth that accelerates success. Ultimately, reflecting on failure connects you to your potential. It shows that setbacks are not the end, but the beginning of a deeper level of achievement. Through this reflection, your life becomes a deliberate path of growth rather than random chance. You turn every failure into fuel that propels you forward with greater purpose and confidence. Chapter 16. Stay present and stop living in the past. Holding on to the past can weigh heavily on your life, blocking your ability to fully experience the present and create a better future. When the mind lingers in previous mistakes, regrets, or even successes. It prevents you from engaging with the current moment and the opportunities it offers. Staying present is not just about awareness, but about consciously choosing to release the past and focus your energy on what is happening right now. Many people find themselves stuck replaying events from the past, often with emotional intensity. This mental looping pulls attention away from the here and now. When you remain fixated on what already happened, you miss out on the richness of present experiences and the chance to influence your life in meaningful ways. The mind's habit of living in the past creates a barrier to growth and happiness. Breaking free from this cycle starts with recognizing the impact of dwelling on the past. Notice how memories or thoughts about previous situations affect your mood, motivation, and actions. This awareness is the first step toward shifting focus, understanding that the past is unchangeable and that your power lies in the present moment empowers you to redirect your attention. Staying present involves training your mind to anchor itself in current sensory experiences. This can be as simple as noticing the sensations of breathing, feeling your feet on the ground, or observing sounds around you. These small acts pull you away from mental distractions and into the immediacy of now. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to maintain presence even in challenging moments. Letting go of the past does not mean forgetting or denying your history. It means accepting what happened without judgment or emotional attachment. Acceptance creates space for peace and reduces resistance. You acknowledge lessons learned without letting them dominate your thoughts or define your identity. Living in the present allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. When caught in past memories, emotions can cloud judgment and lead to repetitive negative behaviors. Presence clears this fog and opens room for intentional choices aligned with your values and goals. One effective method to stay present is mindfulness meditation. This practice strengthens your ability to observe thoughts without getting caught up in them. It teaches patience and self-compassion as you gently bring your focus back whenever the mind wanders. Over time, mindfulness fosters resilience and clarity. Another important aspect is self-forgiveness. Often, people cling to past mistakes with harsh judgment, which traps them in guilt or shame. Forgiving yourself releases this burden and frees mental space for growth. Recognizing that everyone errs makes it easier to embrace the present with openness. Avoid ruminating on what if or if only scenarios. These thoughts fuel regret and prevent progress. Instead, focus on what actions you can take now to improve your situation or mindset. The present moment is where change happens, not in imagined alternatives. Building present-focused habits helps reinforce this shift. Simple daily routines like mindful eating, focused conversations, or regular breaks from digital distractions ground you in reality. These practices remind you that life unfolds in the here and now. Connecting deeply with others enhances presence. Active listening and genuine engagement in interactions create meaningful connections and reduce preoccupation with past events. Relationships flourish when you are fully available. Accepting uncertainty about the future also supports staying present. The past may bring painful memories, but the future can trigger worry and fear. Presence calms these anxieties by rooting you in the moment where you have control. When you stay present, you become more attuned to your emotions, thoughts, and physical sensations. This self-awareness helps you recognize patterns and make conscious adjustments. You respond with wisdom rather than habit. Living fully in the present cultivates gratitude. You notice and appreciate simple joys that often go unnoticed when distracted by past concerns. Gratitude shifts perspective toward abundance and contentment. Presence strengthens your ability to focus and increases productivity. When your attention is scattered by past regrets or stories, effectiveness declines. Centering yourself in the now enhances concentration and decision-making. Remember that staying present is a continuous practice, not a one-time achievement. The mind will naturally drift, and challenges will arise. Each moment offers a new opportunity to return your focus and deepen your engagement with life. Letting go of the past also involves setting boundaries with memories or relationships that keep you stuck. This may mean limiting contact, changing routines, or seeking support. Protecting your mental space allows presence to grow. As you stay present, you develop resilience against negative emotions that arise from clinging to past pain. You learn to observe these feelings without being overwhelmed, creating emotional balance. Presence invites creativity and spontaneity. When not confined by old stories or expectations, you open yourself to new ideas and experiences. This openness enriches your life and expands possibilities. Focusing on the present moment fosters inner peace. You stop resisting what is and instead flow with life's natural rhythms. This acceptance brings calm and reduces stress. Practice patience with yourself throughout this journey. Releasing the past takes time and gentle effort. Celebrate progress and treat setbacks as learning opportunities. Staying present shifts your perspective from victimhood to empowerment. You reclaim your power by choosing where to place your attention and how to respond. Ultimately, living in the present connects you to the fullness of life. It allows you to experience reality directly, without distortion from past narratives. This clarity leads to greater happiness, freedom, and purpose. Make presence your daily priority. Each moment is a fresh chance to engage deeply with life and create meaningful change. This simple yet profound shift transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. Chapter 17. Track your thoughts to master your mental focus. Mastering your mental focus begins with understanding the nature of your thoughts. Your mind is constantly generating ideas, worries, plans, and distractions. Without conscious attention, these thoughts scatter your energy and weaken your ability to concentrate. Tracking your thoughts is a powerful practice that brings clarity to your mental landscape and helps you steer your focus intentionally. Tracking thoughts involves observing and recording what occupies your mind throughout the day. This practice turns invisible mental activity into visible patterns. When you see which thoughts dominate, you gain insight into your priorities, fears, and habits. Awareness is the foundation of control. Begin by setting aside time to note your thoughts regularly. This can be done through journaling, voice recordings, or mental check-ins. Write down recurring themes, moments of distraction, or emotional reactions tied to certain thoughts. This detailed record becomes a map of your mind's tendencies. As you track your thoughts, identify which ones support your goals and which ones hinder you. Positive, solution-focused thoughts build momentum towards success. Negative, repetitive, or unproductive thoughts drain energy and create mental clutter. Distinguishing these categories allows you to consciously cultivate helpful thinking. This practice uncovers mental traps such as rumination, worry, or self-doubt. These patterns often operate automatically, stealing focus without your awareness. Once identified, you can challenge their validity and replace them with balanced, realistic perspectives. Tracking thoughts also reveals when your mind drifts due to external distractions or internal urges. Noticing these moments helps develop discipline to gently return focus to the task at hand. This repeated redirection strengthens your attention muscle. Writing down your thoughts slows them down, giving you space to analyze instead of react. This pause disrupts impulsive responses and promotes thoughtful action. It creates a buffer between stimulus and reaction. Consistent tracking enhances emotional intelligence. Understanding the connection between thoughts and feelings allows you to manage mood swings and stress more effectively. You learn which thoughts trigger negative emotions and how to shift your mindset proactively. Tracking is most effective when combined with reflection. Review your thought records periodically to detect progress and emerging challenges. Reflect on questions like, which thoughts empower me? When do I lose focus? What changes improve my mental clarity? This process encourages accountability. Documenting thoughts prevents mindless wandering and encourages intentional mental habits. It transforms vague awareness into concrete steps toward mastery. Tracking also improves memory and learning. Writing thoughts down reinforces information retention and sharpens mental organization. It prepares your brain for better problem solving and creativity. By observing your mental patterns, you uncover beliefs and assumptions shaping your worldview. Some may limit your potential or cause unnecessary stress. Identifying and questioning these beliefs is easier with a clear thought log. You gain control over your inner dialogue through this practice. Rather than being swept away by negative self-talk, you can recognize and counteract it. This builds self-confidence and resilience. As you master your mental focus, productivity increases, you complete tasks more efficiently, and experience less burnout. Your work feels more meaningful because it aligns with your conscious intentions. Tracking thoughts cultivates mindfulness. It roots you in the present by highlighting where your attention truly lies. Mindful focus reduces anxiety about past or future concerns. This practice can reveal hidden motivations and desires. Understanding what consistently occupies your mind clarifies your true priorities and values. This awareness guides purposeful decision-making. Tracking is a skill that develops with patience and consistency. The mind is naturally restless, but regular observation tames its impulses. Over time, focus becomes a natural state rather than a forced effort. To enhance effectiveness, combine tracking with goal setting. Use insights from your thought patterns to set specific focus goals. For example, reducing distractions during work hours or increasing positive affirmations. Incorporate tools such as timers, apps, or reminders to support focused sessions. External structure complements internal awareness for better results. Remember that occasional wandering thoughts are normal and healthy. The goal is not to eliminate all distractions, but to increase your ability to return attention quickly and without judgment. Mastering mental focus through tracking also improves your communication. Clear thoughts lead to clearer expression and better understanding in conversations. Your relationships benefit because focused presence fosters deeper listening and connection. You become more available to others without mental noise interfering. Tracking your thoughts helps you prioritize self-care. You notice signs of mental fatigue or overwhelm early and can take restorative action before burnout. This practice supports emotional balance by revealing triggers and habitual responses. You develop strategies to maintain calm and clarity in difficult situations. Over time, tracking cultivates a growth mindset. You see challenges as opportunities to refine mental skills rather than threats to your competence. Mastery of focus empowers you to engage fully in learning, creativity, and problem solving. Your mental energy becomes a valuable resource rather than a chaotic stream. Tracking thoughts builds a strong foundation for meditation and other mindfulness practices. It prepares the mind to settle and deepen awareness. Ultimately, mastering your mental focus transforms how you experience life. You move from being controlled by wandering thoughts to directing your attention toward meaningful goals. Commit to tracking your thoughts daily and reviewing them regularly. This discipline creates lasting mental clarity and resilience. As you gain control over your focus, you unlock greater productivity, peace, and fulfillment. Your mind becomes a trusted ally in creating the life you desire. This simple yet profound practice places you in the driver's seat of your mental world. You learn to choose where to invest your attention and how to nurture empowering thought patterns. Through this mastery, your mental energy aligns with your deepest values and highest aspirations. This alignment fuels sustained growth and success. The journey to mastering mental focus starts with tracking and ends in deliberate, mindful living. Each thought you observe and guide shapes the reality you experience. Embrace this practice with commitment and patience. The results ripple through every aspect of your life, bringing clarity, calm, and power to your mind. Chapter 18. Practice honesty with yourself in every situation. Practicing honesty with yourself in every situation is one of the most powerful acts of courage and self-respect. It demands that you look at your thoughts, feelings, motivations, and actions without distortion or denial. This level of honesty builds a foundation of integrity that shapes your decisions, strengthens your character, and deepens your self-awareness. It creates a clear lens through which you can understand your reality and make authentic choices that align with your true self. Being honest with yourself means facing uncomfortable truths rather than avoiding or sugarcoating them. It requires you to admit mistakes, acknowledge weaknesses, and accept where you fall short. This willingness to confront your imperfections removes illusions and prevents self-deception. It frees you from the mental conflict that arises when your inner reality clashes with what you pretend to believe or want. In every situation, start by checking in with yourself before reacting or deciding. Ask what you truly feel, what you want, and what motivates your response. This self-questioning fosters clarity and prevents impulsive reactions based on denial or false beliefs. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to pause and respond with thoughtful honesty rather than automatic defensiveness or avoidance. Honesty with yourself involves recognizing your emotions accurately. Rather than blaming others or external circumstances for how you feel, accept your feelings as valid data about your inner state. This acceptance allows you to understand the root causes of your emotions and address them constructively. Being truthful about your limitations also opens the door for growth. When you honestly see areas needing improvement, you can create realistic plans for change. Denying or minimizing your challenges only delays progress and increases frustration. Self-honesty creates space for patience and persistence, which are essential for lasting transformation. Avoid justifying actions that contradict your values or goals. Rationalizing behaviors that harm you or others keeps you trapped in cycles of denial and guilt. Instead, take full ownership of your choices. This accountability empowers you to break free and rebuild habits that support your highest aspirations. Honesty is also critical in assessing your progress toward goals. Regularly evaluate where you stand without exaggeration or self-criticism. This balanced appraisal helps you celebrate successes genuinely and identify obstacles clearly. It keeps you grounded and motivated. Sometimes honesty requires admitting when you are wrong or need help. This humility strengthens relationships and builds trust with others. It also deepens your connection to yourself because it aligns your actions with truth rather than pride or fear. To cultivate honesty, practice self-reflection daily. Set aside quiet moments to review your thoughts and behaviors objectively. Writing in a journal can help reveal patterns and hidden truths you might overlook in the rush of daily life. Being honest with yourself means resisting the temptation to compare yourself to others or live by external expectations. It calls for embracing your unique path and values. This authenticity fosters inner peace and confidence. Honesty includes recognizing when you feel uncomfortable or uncertain. Instead of pushing these feelings away, explore them openly. Often discomfort signals areas where your inner truth is calling for attention and change. This practice is not about harsh self-judgment, but about clear-eyed awareness. Approach yourself with kindness while refusing to tolerate dishonesty. This balance nurtures growth and resilience. Honesty strengthens your decision-making. When you know your true feelings and intentions, you choose actions aligned with your real needs and desires. This alignment reduces regret and increases fulfillment. It also improves your communication with others. When you are honest with yourself, you speak with clarity and integrity. This openness fosters deeper understanding and respect in relationships. Avoid hiding behind excuses or false narratives about your circumstances. Honesty reveals what you can control and what requires acceptance. This clarity guides effective action and peace. When faced with challenges, honesty helps you identify realistic solutions rather than wishful thinking. It grounds you in practical steps while maintaining hope. The habit of honesty increases your mental strength. You become less vulnerable to denial, avoidance, and self-sabotage. This strength allows you to face adversity with courage and clarity. Honesty with yourself nurtures self-trust. As you consistently align your thoughts and actions with truth, you build confidence in your inner guidance. This trust is essential for navigating uncertainty and change. In moments of doubt or temptation, honesty acts as a compass. It points you back to your core values and priorities, helping you stay on course. Remember that honesty is a continuous practice, not a one-time achievement. The mind naturally resists uncomfortable truths. Persistence and patience are necessary to maintain this clarity over time. Celebrate the courage it takes to be honest with yourself. This courage is a sign of maturity and commitment to your own well-being. Honesty empowers you to set boundaries that protect your integrity. When you know your truth, you can say no to situations or relationships that do not serve your growth. It also frees you from the burden of living a double life or pretending to be someone you are not. This freedom brings peace and energy for meaningful pursuits. Practice honesty in small daily moments to build this muscle. Whether it's admitting when you are tired, asking for help, or acknowledging a mistake, these acts deepen your authenticity. Over time, honesty transforms your relationship with yourself. You become your own reliable ally rather than a critic or deceiver. This transformation ripples outward, influencing how you relate to others and approach life's challenges. Embrace honesty as a lifelong commitment to living fully and genuinely. This commitment creates a life grounded in truth, courage, and self-respect. Chapter 19. Let go of illusions and accept what is real. Clinging to illusions can create a fragile shield that distorts reality and blocks genuine growth. Illusions may take many forms: false hopes, unrealistic expectations, denial of facts, or idealized versions of ourselves and the world. While these illusions might offer temporary comfort, they ultimately prevent you from engaging honestly with life's challenges and opportunities. Accepting what is real, even when it is difficult, liberates you from confusion and enables clear, purposeful action. Illusions often arise from fear, desire, or habit. They protect us from pain or uncertainty by painting a more palatable picture of reality. Yet, this protection comes at a cost. The longer you hold on to illusions, the further you drift from truth and your true potential. Living in illusions fosters frustration, disappointment, and a sense of being stuck. to let go of illusions, start by becoming aware of where they appear in your life. Pay attention to recurring thoughts or beliefs that conflict with facts or evidence. Notice when you ignore warning signs, minimize problems, or inflate expectations. This awareness is the first step toward releasing false narratives. Accepting what is real requires courage and honesty. It means facing facts squarely without avoidance or denial. This acceptance includes acknowledging your limitations, mistakes, and the realities of your circumstances. Embracing truth frees you from the exhausting effort of maintaining illusions. Letting go is not passive resignation, but active surrender. It involves releasing control over things beyond your influence and focusing on what you can change. This shift redirects your energy from resisting reality to working productively within it. Acceptance fosters peace of mind. When you stop fighting against reality, you reduce inner conflict and stress. This peace creates a stable foundation for growth and resilience. This process also enhances clarity. Illusions cloud judgment and decision-making. Truth illuminates your path, revealing clear options and consequences. You can then make informed choices aligned with your goals. Illusions often bind you to the past or to unrealistic future fantasies. Accepting reality anchors you in the present moment, where true power resides. Presence in reality allows you to respond effectively rather than react emotionally. Practicing acceptance includes embracing uncertainty. Life is inherently unpredictable. Clinging to fixed outcomes or guarantees is an illusion that breeds anxiety. Acceptance of uncertainty opens you to flexibility and adaptability. Letting go requires patience and compassion toward yourself. It is natural to resist painful truths. Gently allow yourself time to adjust and integrate new perspectives. This practice strengthens resilience. When you face facts without distortion, you build the capacity to recover from setbacks and persist through difficulties. It also deepens self-awareness. By seeing yourself clearly, you can identify areas for growth and align your actions with your authentic values. Acceptance encourages humility. Recognizing the limits of your control and knowledge fosters openness and learning. This openness invites new possibilities. When illusions fall away, you become receptive to alternative paths and solutions that reality offers. Letting go of illusions improves relationships. Seeing others realistically without idealization or judgment creates authentic connection and empathy. It also reduces conflict caused by unmet expectations and misunderstandings rooted in false beliefs. Practicing acceptance daily cultivates mental discipline. It trains your mind to return to truth whenever it drifts into fantasy or denial. Techniques such as mindfulness meditation help develop this discipline by fostering observation without attachment. Reflect regularly on your beliefs and assumptions. Question whether they reflect reality or comforting stories. This reflection sharpens discernment and wisdom. Accepting reality includes embracing both positive and negative aspects without preference or avoidance. This balanced view nurtures emotional stability. This balance enables you to celebrate successes fully and learn from failures honestly. Letting go of illusions frees your creative energy. Without the burden of false expectations, your mind can innovate and solve problems more effectively. It also empowers you to live authentically. Truth aligns your actions with your core self rather than external illusions. This authenticity brings fulfillment and confidence. You no longer chase shadows, but engage with life as it is. Remember that acceptance is a practice, not a one-time event. The mind naturally resists discomfort and seeks illusions. Continuous effort is required to maintain clarity. Celebrate progress in releasing illusions. Each moment of honest seeing strengthens your freedom and peace. Ultimately, letting go of illusions and accepting reality transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. It grounds you in truth, empowers wise choices, and opens the door to genuine growth and happiness. Chapter 20. Rebuild your life with full conscious awareness now. Rebuilding your life with full conscious awareness starts with a decisive commitment to engage with every moment intentionally and authentically. This process is not about rushing or forcing change, but about thoughtfully constructing your reality based on clear perception and purposeful action. When you operate from awareness, you become the architect of your life rather than a passive observer swept by circumstance or habit. The first step is to fully recognize where you are now without judgment or denial. Honest appraisal of your current state, your habits, relationships, mindset, and environment provides the foundation for meaningful reconstruction. Awareness illuminates what supports your well-being and what hinders it. This clarity allows you to prioritize changes that align with your deepest values and long-term goals. Rebuilding requires shedding old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve you. Conscious awareness helps you identify these with precision. Many times, unconscious habits drive behavior that contradicts your aspirations. Bringing these to light creates an opportunity to replace them with intentional choices that foster growth and resilience. This process also involves cultivating self-discipline anchored in mindfulness. Discipline without awareness can become rigid or mechanical. Awareness guides discipline to be flexible, adaptive, and aligned with your evolving understanding of yourself. It transforms routine into meaningful practice rather than mere obligation. Engaging fully in the present moment enhances your ability to notice subtle shifts in thoughts, feelings, and external circumstances. This sensitivity enables timely adjustments that keep your rebuilding efforts effective and sustainable. Awareness sharpens your decision-making, reducing wasted energy on distractions or futile efforts. Rebuilding your life consciously means setting clear, actionable goals. Awareness informs these goals by revealing what truly matters to you beyond societal expectations or fleeting desires. Goals grounded in conscious understanding foster motivation that is steady and authentic. It is essential to break down large changes into manageable steps. Awareness helps you gauge your capacity and pace, preventing overwhelm and burnout. Each small step, when chosen deliberately, accumulates into profound transformation over time. Conscious rebuilding also demands embracing discomfort and uncertainty. Growth often involves leaving familiar but limiting patterns. Awareness supports this by keeping you grounded and resilient through challenges rather than reactive or avoidant. Building supportive environments and relationships is another critical aspect. Awareness guides you to cultivate connections that nurture your growth and to distance yourself from toxic influences. Your social circle profoundly impacts your energy and focus. Regular self-reflection is vital during this journey. Taking time to review progress, challenges, and lessons learned reinforces awareness and informs course corrections. Reflection nurtures humility and curiosity, vital traits for sustainable growth. Rebuilding with awareness encourages you to integrate self-care holistically. Physical health, mental clarity, and emotional balance become priorities rather than afterthoughts. Awareness alerts you to signs of fatigue or stress early, allowing timely replenishment. Awareness also fosters gratitude and contentment even amid change. Recognizing and appreciating your efforts and small victories nurtures motivation and joy. It reminds you that rebuilding is not just about reaching a future ideal, but engaging meaningfully with the present process. Embracing conscious awareness breaks the cycle of automatic reactive living. You shift from being controlled by external forces and internal habits to choosing your path with clarity and intention. This shift liberates your potential and creativity. This rebuilding is a continuous, evolving process. Awareness opens you to new insights and possibilities that reshape your understanding and goals. Flexibility grounded in clarity prevents stagnation and supports lifelong growth. The journey demands patience and self-compassion. Mistakes or setbacks are part of learning and do not negate progress. Awareness helps you hold these experiences with balanced perspective and renewed commitment. Building daily routines that support your conscious goals anchors your transformation. These habits become the scaffolding for your new life. Awareness ensures these routines remain aligned with your true needs rather than external pressures. Mindfulness practices deepen your conscious engagement. Techniques such as meditation, breathwork, or focused attention cultivate the mental space needed to observe and choose rather than react. This active presence enhances creativity and problem solving. When fully aware, you can generate innovative solutions and adapt swiftly to challenges. Rebuilding your life with conscious awareness strengthens your sense of purpose. You connect daily actions to your broader vision and values, creating meaningful momentum. Awareness also enriches your relationships by fostering empathy and authentic communication. You become more present and responsive rather than distracted or reactive. Financial and material aspects of life benefit from conscious attention as well. Awareness helps you manage resources wisely and avoid impulsive or fear-driven decisions. Your sense of identity becomes clearer and more flexible. You shed limiting labels and embrace a self-definition based on growth and authenticity. This process empowers you to face fears and insecurities without avoidance. Awareness allows you to explore these feelings safely and learn from them. Rebuilding consciously invites you to practice forgiveness toward yourself and others. Holding on to resentment or guilt drains energy and clouds perception. Letting go restores clarity and peace. The power of conscious rebuilding lies in your ability to integrate mind, body, and spirit. Awareness connects these aspects into a harmonious whole that supports sustainable well-being. You become an active participant in your own evolution rather than a passive bystander. This empowerment fosters confidence and joy. Ultimately, rebuilding your life with full conscious awareness is about embracing your role as creator of your experience. It is a call to wakefulness and responsibility that transforms not only your life but the lives of those around you. Each moment offers a fresh opportunity to choose awareness over habit, clarity over confusion, and growth over stagnation. Embracing this path leads to a life of depth, purpose, and fulfillment.